9 a.m. or 10 a.m. September 5th, I think, 2019. A few observations on my newest range card for my 22 rimfire. I put together another range card. This is like, in fact, the latest version of my range cards, and it does have in it pretty much all the experiences I have gained over time in putting range cards together. Now, just like my previous range cards, we have here the distances at which you could hit the target without being concerned about hold over or hold under. In other words, if you take, for instance, the 0-degree shots as opposed to 15-degree, 30-degree, and 40-degree shots, with this particular rifle or any other similar rifle, zeroed, of course, at 50 meters, you will have the the privilege of being able to get your target anywhere between 20 and 50 meters without any holdover or hold unders, considering a kill zone of 1 centimeter in diameter, that is. And just like any other scoped rifle, at about 10 meters, and I'm talking about rimfires here, you're going to have about 2 centimeters of holdover, which in this case, with this particular scope, it is in fact also 2 mil-dots of holdover. In other words, at 10 meters, should you be shooting at something, you're going to have to hold about 2 centimeters above your target in order to hit the target, and that is apparently because the line of sight through the scope at this distance does not in fact match that of a bullet path. So you should have that, and this particular setup allows you to have a pretty straightforward thing to consider when hitting your target at 10 meters. That is, regardless of the actual angle you're shooting at 10 meters, you have to aim 2 centimeters higher, and that's that. The beauty of this is that you could put that in your mind. You don't really have to refer to your range card at these distances, and you don't really have to think too much in those few seconds, if at all a second, as to how you should aim. So it makes it pretty straightforward. And again, if you're shooting at 0 degrees, at the distances of 20 to 50 meters, you don't really, again, you don't have to be concerned for your holdover or hold under, and that makes things pretty straightforward again. And that and you could have that on your mind without having to refer to your range card. So the thing that you do, the thing that I do is that when I have a target, first thing I consider is the angle at which I'm going to shoot. If it is 0, then I just aim and shoot. If it is 15 degrees, then I'm going to have a hold under of half a centimeter. 30 degrees 1 centimeter, and 45 degrees 2 centimeters. That is, if you're shooting at something within the range of 20 to 50, which is, I think, called your point blank range, if it is at 45 centimeters, you just have to aim 2 centimeters lower than the target. Again, this is something that you could have in your mind, and you should not have to refer to your range card, and that makes things pretty straightforward. The nice observation here is, though, that because of the faster bullet compared to ordinary air guns, and because of the heavier bullet and the greater momentum and the flatter trajectory, you have the privilege of or the comfort, the comfort, if you will, of being able to shoot at your target from 20 to 50 meters, whereas in air guns, because of the more curvier trajectory, this would be just between 20 to 30 meters, and anything farther than 30 meters you would have to account for the drop and have some form of holdover to get the target. In other words, with this rifle, compared to ordinary air guns, you are able to reach farther easier without being concerned about holdovers, which is a very, very nice thing. Especially in the forest, you rarely come across something farther than 50 meters. Pretty much all of your shots are going to be within this range, and you don't have to mess around with mil dots and stuff. And as usual, for 60, 70, and so on and so forth, I have written down a rounded up amount of holdover for my targets. This is going to come in very handy if you have something at 140 meters at 15 degrees. You just have to range that or estimate the distance using your mil dots and count for the drop, and in this particular case have a holdover of 3.25 mil dots. So it's a very nice thing. If you compared it to air guns, it would be clear that with this particular rifle you could shoot at anything up to 50 meters without having to account for holdovers, whereas this in air guns would be just about up until 30 meters. This is my winter range card with a ambient temperature of about 5 degrees centigrade. I have put together here another one for summer with the same rifle and the same cartridges. And of course I'm using Winchester Super X 40 grain solid point rounds at 1265 feet per second. And this one is for summer at 25 degrees centigrade. There's a slight difference, not really much of a difference, but at longer ranges you start to see differences. Like for example, at 170 meters at 0, 15, 30 and 45 degrees, you have 4.75, 4.5, and so on and so forth. Whereas here you have 5, 4.75, 4, and 2.75. The difference becomes more pronounced if you go to farther distances. Like for example, at 200 meters, at 0 degrees, you have to have 6.75 mil dots of holdover in winter, whereas in summer, because the air is thinner, you have to have 6.25 mil dots of holdover. Same story for 45 degrees. In winter, you have 4 mil dots of holdover, whereas in summer, you have just 3.75 mil dots of holdover. Apparently, because in winter, the air is denser, and therefore the drop is slightly more. I think this, particular setup, if you will, or way to represent your holdovers is pretty straightforward and practical, because especially in hunting, You really need something very practical. I mean, you are really allowed to sacrifice probably a little bit of accuracy for gaining more practicality. You don't really have too much time then to do stuff like this, and a straightforward, easy to remember, easy to memorize range card would be much more beneficial. Not that I'm going to, or not that I'm ever able to, or anybody for that matter, memorize this, but this part, this is pretty straightforward, and you could very easily memorize it. 0, 15, 30, 45, 0.512. It's just very easy to remember. Like if you see a squirrel at 45 degrees of angle, you could very easily just think in your mind, without having to refer to this, that you would have to aim 2 centimeters lower to get the target. This particularly is what happened to me yesterday, and I had not yet put this range card together, and I was not sure if this would be the case with this Rimfire 22 as it was with air guns, that I would have to aim a little lower. And this last squirrel that I shot, even though I aimed at the chest, I hit it about right in the back of the head, which is apparently because of this. I was kind of under the impression that because of the flatter trajectory, I wouldn't have to do this with rimfire rifles, but apparently you do. And this apparently yesterday it did confirm the fact that I did have to do that then as well. Yeah, I have put these together, and I have written down the round and the summer or winter, and I'm going to have one of these for each of the cartridges that I may come across. I'm just going to remove this and stick the other one in there for the new cartridge or for the new season. And this is all because of Strelok app. And of course, there is the need to fine-tune this data by shooting targets at farther distances and measuring the drop, and put that data in a Strelok app to have an even more accurate kind of holdover calculated. But for the time being, and because I'm going to be saving on my bullets and my cartridges, I didn't actually go through that, especially because I don't think I'm going to be shooting at these ranges anytime soon, and I didn't really want to waste any ammo on that. And of course, this is pretty much accurate. Just in case I come across something at these distances. Not that I am really capable of delivering a good shot at these distances. I'm not a good shot. I do know the stuff in theory, but I'm not really up to that. I mean, it takes a lot for me to be able to get a target at these distances, even a bigger target. But right in here, I think I could deliver decent shots at this range. Thank you for watching.